Hi, and welcome to Farm Bread. I'm Kate. So I am so excited to share this loaf with you today. 25 years ago, when I lived in Bucktown, Chicago, I used to buy the most incredible roasted garlic ring from this little local bakery called the Red Hen Bakery. It was so soft and airy and flavorful with lots of olive oil, and inside it had this layer of roasted garlic goodness. It was almost like a garlicky paste. It was so incredible. So today I'm bringing that memory back with my own sourdough version. It's simple and delicious and pairs perfectly with a little bit of gorgonzola cheese. I'll walk you through each step so that you can make this beautiful loaf at home and then share it with those you love. Let's get baking.
Okay, so the first thing that we're gonna do before we even start to make our dough is make sure that we roast our garlic. I found this awesome little garlic roasting pan at a thrift store, which has been awesome. And it's always nice to reuse and recycle when you can. If you haven't done this before, you just slice off the top portion of the garlic to reveal the beautiful cloves inside. Leave everything intact and then drizzle maybe like a teaspoon to a tablespoon of olive oil on top and then cover it up. If you don't have a pan like this, what you can do is just put it in tin foil and kind of wrap the tin foil up around it and close it at the top, just so you make like a little pouch. And then you just roast. I did 400 degrees for about 20 minutes or so. I did this yesterday, so you can always try to get things done a day in advance to make it easier for yourself. For now, I'm actually going to set this aside, and now we're going to make the dough. Great. So I have my bowl on my scale, and I have my Danish dough whisk to gently stir in between. So first, I'm going to zero out my scale and make sure that we are at 0 and set to grams, which we are. So that's great. Now I am going to add about 50 to 60 grams of active bubbly starter. Make sure you feed your starter 8 to 10 hours in advance so that it will be ready by the time you are ready to make this. So I have about 60 grams. Next, we're going to be adding warm water. So I'm going to zero out my scale, and I am just using warm water from my tap. I'm going to be adding 360 grams or 360 milliliters of warm water. Okay, now I'm going to stir these together. Our next step is to add an extra virgin olive oil. So I'm going to zero out my scale, and I'm going to add 20 grams of EVOO. Again, I'll just give this a little quick whisk, stir it up. And then we'll add in our flour. So now we are adding our flours, and this is a combination of bread flour and all-purpose flour. I'm going to add 250 grams of each. So 250 grams of a high-protein bread flour. I always use organic. And another 250 grams of a all-purpose flour. Again, I use organic. In total, it should be 500 grams of flour. And the reason we do this is because I don't want a huge loaf of bread. I want a nice ring that is airy on the inside, but something that's not super bready and large. I'll show you what I mean. And lastly, we're going to be adding salt. And I love pink Himalayan salt. It's such a beautiful color, but it also has such a wonderful flavor, and it's pure. So I'm adding 10 grams of pink Himalayan salt. Of course, you can use any type of salt here. And now I'm just going to stir all of this together. So first I'm just going to take it off of my scale. And now I'm just going to combine all of these ingredients together with my Danish dough whisk. Just start in the middle and keep circulating the whisk in the center, and you'll notice the flours just start to come together towards the center as you go through. Then you can make it your way to the outer edge to clean it off. Your dough should be shaggy. And kind of sticky like so. Then we're going to let this rest, and when we come back we will shape it and form it into more of a dough-like ball structure. Just try to scrape your sides down if you can. There we go. All right, so I'm going to cover this with a damp cloth for 30 minutes, and then we'll be back. In the meantime, I'm going to wash my Danish dough whisk, and I'm also going to prep our roasted garlic. And I'm going to try not to eat too much of it. Okay, so to prep the garlic, it's actually really a fun process. If you don't mind getting your fingers a little sticky with or a little messy, I should say, with the olive oil. But the garlics, once they're nicely roasted, they just slide right out. I keep a little dish nearby to put the skins in if they get stuck on my hand. But you know you've roasted it nicely when they just kind of pop out. I used to make bread back when we lived in Illinois and sell it, and one of our big items was a roasted garlic sourdough, which I have a recipe for. You should check it out. I'll see if I can post a link to the video here. And I would make a lot of roasted garlic, and my daughter would eat it, so I would have to hide it from her. But if she found it, she would always need to have at least like a couple cloves. It's so sweet. The flavor really changes when you add heat to it. And so if you haven't had roasted garlic, you might not be watching this, but it is so yummy. It's amazing how like adding heat can just add such a sweetness to something that's rather potent and powerful in its fresh state. I love garlic no matter what. My mom grew it when we were little, and she would make a bagel with cream cheese and then put sliced garlic. And I'm talking fresh, I'm not talking roasted. She would literally slice fresh garlic and put it on her bagel with cream cheese. Okay, so now it almost looks like a flower here, doesn't it? And it's so pretty. So now that we have all of our garlic and out of the skins and into our olive oil that we baked it in. So that's also another thing I didn't mention, is just definitely don't pour out that olive oil. keep it in the container or the tin foil, and then you could put it into a bowl, because I'm going to actually mash this up into a paste, which is really easy to do with just a fork. So I'll move that out of the way, and I'm going to grab a fork really quickly. All right, so really we're just mashing these with a fork. Super easy because they're roasted, they're soft, and they mash really easily. Some that maybe got a little bit more roasted than others, which always happens. Just don't worry about it, just leave it in there. Because one of my friend's favorite things are the little bits and bites of roasted garlic that are kind of like a little surprise in your bread when you come across them. This recipe though, we're not doing a loaf, we're doing a ring, and it's just something I've always wanted to try to recreate. When I first had this bread in Chicago at the Red Hen Bakery, I just absolutely loved it. Okay, so that looks good. So just cover it up, and then we are not going to actually include this until we're ready to add the fillings. So you can just set this aside on your counter. You could even put it in the refrigerator if you're not going to be using it until tomorrow, however you plan to do it. But make sure that it's at room temperature when you go to fill your dough with it. Okay, our dough has rested for about 30 minutes. I was able to clean some things around here and make some coffee. So this is what your dough should look like when you take your cloth off after the initial mix. So now I'm just going to go in and kind of tighten this into a shape like a ball. So I'm just going to lift up, stretch the dough, kind of go in a clockwise rotation. While you're kind of stretching, and this just helps to strengthen the dough. You might see like the olive oil has coagulated or solidified. That's totally fine. Don't worry about that. Still a little sticky, but don't worry. Okay. Now that we've done this, we're just going to again let our dough rest for about 30 minutes, and then we'll come back and do a folding technique. Okay, it's been 30 minutes. We're going to come back and do our first fold. So what helps here is if you have like kind of a little glass of water, you can get your hands wet and just go underneath the dough and pull it up. With this loaf, I am trying to get a specific end result that's a little bit different of a texture than my typical sourdoughs. And so I really want to actually go in and do a very, very gentle lift and fold technique. So I will do that here for you. And then you just need to repeat it about 4 times. So this is the first of 4 times that I'm going to be doing this. Again, I am working it around my schedule. I'm doing this before I head into work. It's pretty simple and straightforward. You just need to carve out time to do it. So that's pretty much what it comes down to. So I'll just show you. Just kind of go underneath and lift it up to stretch. Hopefully I don't hit the camera. And then again, get your hands a little bit wet and then go underneath and then stretch and lift up and let it fold in on itself. And then just do that a couple times and have it lay back down into kind of like a little ball shape. Do one last little stretch. You'll see how the dough and the gluten start working together, and it starts to get this really beautiful texture that's really light. And you can start to see bubbles forming. So it's really a nice way to do it if you have the time and the desire to achieve this end result. It's definitely worthwhile. Okay, there you have it. That's all we're going to do for now. I'm going to come back in 30 minutes and we'll do it again. Okay, it's been another 30 minutes. We're back. You can already start to see the dough and how it's changing over time. I'm going to get my hands a little bit wet, and we're just going to do another stretching, lifting up, and then kind of folding in on itself, and then we'll just do the other side as well. And the reason I'm just showing you instead of just telling you what to do is I think it's really neat to be able to see how my dough looks, so that when you go to do this, you can kind of reference each step. I know it makes the video longer, but I think it's worthwhile to show all the different steps and phases of the process. So I hope you enjoy that. Okay, that's about it. I'm just going to cover her up, and we'll come back in 30 more minutes. I'll see you then. Okie doke, we are back. Let's go. All right. Looking smooth and elastic. Wetting my hands again. I'm forgetting, but I think this is our third fold. I can't exactly remember. I have it all written down. And that's something I should show you. I do make a schedule and a list that I go by so that I can figure all of this out as I'm planning, which I would definitely advise. I'll show you my list in a second. Okay, but first I'm going to go in and gently lift up like I've been doing. Stretch the dough and then fold it over. Turn the bowl, and I'll do that one more time. Just a gentle lift and stretch, or lift and fold. Lift, stretch, and fold. All right, I'm going to cover it up, and I'm going to do it one more time before I head into work. So here's just a quick sketch of kind of how I lay it out. So I figure out what time I want to get up, and then I space everything pretty much 30 minutes apart. I'm delayed a little bit. Had to get the kids off to school and take care of the chickens and shower and get ready, make lunches, all that. So I kind of fit that in between. But essentially, I just kind of lay out my schedule, check everything off as I go through. And I can check this one off because I just did that one. So we're about 20 minutes behind, but that's okay. And then, yeah, this will be perfect. I'll just do my last lift and stretch right before I head into work. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an idea of how I do all of this and how I simplify and try to make it as easy as possible. All right, we made it to the last stretch and fold. So here we go. Gonna get my hands wet. And we're just going to, again, lift up. Oh, you can really see how this is stretching nicely now. And fold over. Lift up. And fold over. And make it into a ball. Gently. It feels really soft and light. Puffy, like a pillow. Okay, now I'm actually going to cover this with a plastic wrap and let it enter its bulk rise throughout the day. And then I will come back, and this evening I'm going to put it into the refrigerator. So I'm going to let this rise at room temperature, which is probably around 68 degrees, for roughly 10 hours or so, and we'll see. We really just want this to double in size. So once this is about double in size, that's when I'm going to gently shape it and put it into a basket, a proofing basket, for a
cold ferment overnight, and then I'm going to bake it tomorrow morning. So I will probably also put my garlic paste into the refrigerator as well. But for now, just going to set this aside. I'm going to cover it with plastic wrap, set it aside, and let it rise throughout the day. All right, welcome back. It has been about 10 hours, 10 and a, well, actually closer to 11 hours. And our dough has definitely doubled in size. So I'm gonna get our proofing basket ready. Oh, I think our cat might be hungry. King, are you saying hello? So I'm just going to generously flour our proofing basket. I'm putting it in an oblong basket because I want to, when I take it out in the morning, I want to be able to have it in kind of like a long rectangle. So that will be my ultimate goal as I'm shaping the dough in the morning. But for now, I'm just going to put it in an oblong proofing basket before we put it into the refrigerator. Okay, show you our dough. You can see it's nice and bubbly, and it has definitely doubled in size, which is great. I did check it when I got home from work at the 8-hour mark, and it hadn't quite risen this much, so I did want to wait a little bit more. So just as a frame of reference, you know, depending on the temperature in your house, 8 to 10, 11, 8 to 12 hours maybe. Think about just making sure that your dough has doubled in size before you take it out. And of course, Gunther is drinking water. Every time I do this, I feel like he goes and takes a drink of water. All right. Okay, so now I'm really gently going to shape this. You saw how we were doing really gentle stretching and folds. I am going to come at this with the same approach and a very gentle one. So you can just feel as you like gently pick the dough up, feel how light it is. So I'm just going to come in just to give it a little bit of shape. Pick it up. I'm just doing this in like a circular motion, clockwise formation. Don't want to hurt it at all. And I'm going to flip it over and tuck those ends. It feels very jiggly, light and jiggly, which is a great frame of reference for you. Going to gently pick this up, put it into our, flip it over and put it into our proofing basket. Now for the cold ferment, I am just going to let it go overnight, and then I'm going to bake this in the morning. And what you'll see is how I shape this into a ring. So stay tuned for that. But for now, I'm going to make some dinner for my family because we are getting pretty hungry. Had a lot of running around to do while my daughter was at soccer and Mark is out of town. So time to make dinner and get this baby in the refrigerator. I will gently cover this with our plastic wrap, and I will see you in the morning. All right, have a great night. Okay, good morning. It is early and I just came down, took my bread out of our refrigerator and set it on the counter. Once I set this on the counter, I turned our oven on to 450 degrees Fahrenheit. And while I'm preheating that, I also put my baking stone and my lid in the oven so that they can preheat with the oven. The next thing that I did was I took a sheet pan, like a very light, just like a smaller, flat sheet pan that has no edges. And I put a layer of parchment paper on top with some gentle sprinkle of flour. And the reason I do that is because I use that to transfer my dough from the counter, if you will, onto the baking stone. I don't have like one of those like fun
pizza, flat pizza carriers, and so I just use the sheet pan, and that seems to work really well. So it's been sitting out for about 5 minutes so far. I'm just going to sprinkle our counter with some flour, and then I'm just going to turn it out onto our counter, and I'll just let it sit for about 5 more minutes. I'm going to come in and I'm going to start to flatten this like focaccia, where you kind of just push it out with your fingertips. The reason I do it this way is because I just want to push it out so that we have a longer piece, roughly about 18 inches, but I'm trying not to like fully damage all of the beautiful air inside. I want to try to preserve the beautiful rise that we had and the lightness of the dough. Okay, yeah, so I'm just going to do about 18 inches. The idea is I want this to fit around a jar. So we're going to fold it over in half with the garlic spread inside. And then it just needs to be long enough that it would fit around a jar. So here's my jar. Let's see. I think we're almost there. Just want to get like an even size. You don't want it to be too thick in the middle. You can kind of stretch it as well. There we go. I think that looks good. Now we're going to take our garlic and we're going to spread it over our bread or our dough. You can get all these yummy bits and olive oil. I'll try to keep it actually to one side because when we fold it over, it will obviously coat both sides, like so. Okay. So now I'm just going to gently fold. You can use a bench scraper for this too if you need, but I'm just pulling the dough up and over to cover it, kind of like a calzone or a sandwich. Okay, now the fun part, I am going to grab my bench scraper. We are going to, just want to make sure we don't, okay, lift this up, okay. You need to add a little bit more flour underneath, so just at this stage, it is worth checking underneath your dough to make sure that you have ample flour, just so when you want to lift this up, you'll be able to. This is probably a good time to grab your sheet pan, whatever surface you're going to put it on, your parchment paper, and we'll gently, I'm just going to flour this a little bit more. There's just some leftover flour I have. And then I'm going to lift, I'll put my jar onto the parchment paper. And then we're just going to gently lift our dough up and fit it around around the ring, in a ring formation around the jar, like so. My dough's already starting to seal up on me. So I'm just going to get a little water so that I can kind of seal these two pieces together. There we go. And now, just before we're going to let this rise, you just want to go around the edges, and I just want to tuck the edges under so that no seam is showing around the edges. Like so. And now just going to let this rise. And it doesn't need to double in size, but just get a little bit puffier. So I'll probably let it sit here for about a half an hour. One last thing that we're going to do before we bake it is just drizzle a little bit of olive oil around the top. And I will show you that when we get to that step. All right, I'll see you in a little bit. Okay, our oven has preheated, so I'm just going to take our jar out of the center here. Our dough has risen slightly, as you can see. I'll set our jar aside, and now I'm just going to gently brush the top of the dough with some olive oil. I don't want to get it too close to the bottom because in the past I've noticed that the bottom can get a little too overcooked. With the olive oil, so I like to just do the top. Okay. And now I'm just going to slide our parchment paper on top of our baking stone and then cover our dough with my lid. And I do have a funny story about my lid, which I think I've shared in another video, but I'm all about reusing and recycling, and I found a great sassafras baker at a thrift store. But unfortunately, I put it into the oven too long after I had started to preheat the oven, and I cracked it. So now I have a bottomless cover for my sassafras, which actually, after buying a baking stone and using that, the lid works just as fine with the baking stone. So definitely, if you do have a oops moment, see how maybe you can still use part of your baker or something, maybe see if you can use the lid. So first, I'm just going to pull this out and remove our lid. Set it up on our and then I'm going to transfer our dough directly onto the baking from the baking sheet onto the stone, and I'm going to keep the parchment paper there as well. Now I'm going to gently put my lid on top. And now we're going to bake this for about 20 minutes. So our ring is going to bake covered for 20 minutes, and then at that 20-minute mark, I'm going to take the lid off and let it bake for 25 to 30 minutes more while it is uncovered. Okay, our timer went off, so I'm going to take the lid off. There we go. Oh yes, that looks beautiful. Yay! Okay, and now I'm just going to gently brush this with some olive oil. Let me actually pull this out a little bit. You can see how the base gets a little darker from that lid. That's why I don't want to put too much olive oil down there because it tends to make it cook faster. All right. Try to get the other side. I love the texture that olive oil gives this bread. All right. This looks great. So we're going to cook it for another 25 to 30 minutes. I'm going to set my timer for 30 minutes, but I'm going to check around the 25-minute mark to see how we're looking. All right. I love the richness that the olive oil gives to this loaf. And it's something that I really remember when we were in Chicago and when I would try the loaf. So that's something that I'm trying to emulate here with spreading the garlic, or I'm sorry, spreading the olive oil all over this loaf. Let's pull it out a little bit so I can reach it better. Now we've got about 12, 13 minutes left. I'm going to rotate our loaf so that this end doesn't get too brown. Whoops. And I'm going to gently lift it off and put it directly onto our baking stone. So now you can see the darkness here. So what I might do is actually go in and I'm going to tent our loaf with tin foil. So for these last 10 minutes or so, I'm going to tint this with some, just so that it doesn't get too dark. My tin foil off. This looks really beautiful. Now you can see our beautiful roasted garlic ring, fresh out of the oven. Wait until you smell your kitchen. I mean, this is really a crowd pleaser.
All right, I'm super excited to share this roasted garlic ring. It has taken me like 25 years to be able to make this, and I am super proud and excited to share it with you because it's really an incredible loaf. It's just delicious anytime, but really it's really fun to have at gatherings with family and friends, and to be able to share it. It's also a showstopper because anybody who sees this thinks like, oh my goodness, how did you make a ring of bread? So, and then when you bite inside of it, there's this amazing layer of garlicky goodness that is just really surprising and so delicious. So I really hope you try it. And if you do, let me know in the comments below. I'd be super excited to hear what you think and how it turns out. Like, which area do you think we should cut into first? The big side, probably?
Yeah.
All right. And just do a big slice. Show you the crumb. So look how airy and beautiful that looks. And here you can see where we folded the dough over. You can see that really nice layer. I'm just gonna open it up for you, of roasted garlic inside. Oh my gosh, see? That is like the delicious surprise that you get when you're eating this. It is just so good. The olive oil adds a really nice coating and really helps with the crumb. I think it softens it up a bit, and it just pairs really nicely with the roasted garlic inside, and then also when we're adding a little bit of cheese. And I love this with gorgonzola cheese. And I am not a fan of blue cheese, but this combination for some reason just really works well together. So I'll show you the rest of the loaf. And I just think it's such a beautiful concept to have a ring with a beautiful layer of the roasted garlic inside. All right, now I'm just gonna cut a smaller slice. And another way that you can eat this actually, and what I used to do a lot, was actually just kind of cube it and then serve it with the cheese. So people can get little bite-sized pieces, like so. I'll just show you. Get like little bite-sized pieces and then spread the gorgonzola on top. And you only need a little bit of gorgonzola. A little goes a long way. All right, let's give it a try. Oh my goodness. It never disappoints. I have to say, I've always thought that that Red Hen Bakery garlic ring was the best, but this is so good. This is a really close second. And I'm truly inspired by them because they were an amazing bakery. But wow. For any occasion, this is definitely one to share with friends and family. All right, I just ate way too much of this. It is so delicious. I really hope you try it. As always, if you are enjoying this content, please like, share, and subscribe. Turn on your notifications so that you don't miss any videos. And if you have any videos that you want me to create or questions, let me know in the comments below. I'd be happy to help you with any of that. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.